And welcome back again to the What's Up Radio program with your host, Terry Lowry. Joining us now is Kevin Roberts. He represents District 126 in the Texas House up in Northwest Harris County. He's here to discuss, now that we're 30-plus days out from a natural disaster, are there too many little groups doing the best they can, but they have limited resources? Or are there some big groups with tons of money, but they don't know how to utilize their resources and how to spend their money? Are there some huge projects that need attention, but no group, nobody's looking at that project to tackle it? Are individuals and small business owners becoming depressed for lack of help? And should the feds form a super commission with a czar to oversee Puerto Rico, Florida, and Texas? Kevin Roberts, welcome again to the program.
Thank you, Terry.
Okay, I gave a flavor of the discussing points, the talking points. Are there too many little groups? Well, first of all, you live in Northwest Harris County, up and down Cypress Creek. What part of your constituents live in the city of Houston, and what part live in the county? What is it, 90%, something like that?
I am almost 100% unincorporated Harris County, Terry. I have 1,100 folks who are in Tomball. But it's basically, you could say, 99.8% unincorporated.
So did your House district have much flooding damage?
We took a tremendous amount of damage because, as you alluded to, Cypress Creek surrounds many neighborhoods. You can go from one neighborhood that may not have been impacted to another, and literally it looks like a war zone in some of them. And we're very unique up here, Terry, in that we don't have the NRG, we don't have George R. Brown. Here's what we had to provide services during Harvey. We had our independent school districts step up in a huge way. Klein ISD, not asked, they just stepped forward and opened the Klein Multi-Purpose Center as a shelter and distribution center. Cy-Fair ISD opened the Berry Center as a distribution center. Spring ISD did the same. Additionally, our churches stepped forth in a big way. But for them, Terry, we would have been in trouble in terms of we don't have a governmental body up here that could say, well, we're going to open these large centers. And that's what I'm so proud of in our community. We had neighbors helping neighbors, Texans helping Texans, and we should give them a lot of praise. In fact, I have asked, and I sit on Appropriations Committee, as you know, and we will have a Harvey hearing on Monday. I've asked the federal government, and I will mention it again in our hearing. I would like to see these churches in these independent school districts, our Klein, Spring, and Cy-Fair, who don't have in their budget disaster relief such as this, okay, I'd like to see them reimbursed by FEMA for the cost that they incurred to take care of folks during this, during Harvey.
During this natural disaster.
Yes.
Well, Kevin Roberts, you were on the ground for a couple of weeks. Did you experience, first of all, too many little groups doing the best they could with very limited resources? Did you see this happening home after home, street after street, subdivision after subdivision, just little groups coming out and doing whatever they could?
Well, 100%. I mean, that is who plugged in to assist. I mean, Red Cross came forth, but what you really saw, Terry, the non-governmental organizations is not who provided the real relief in our area. I got a phone call from a gentleman that said, I have 20 boats at Spring High School. We're ready to go. What do we do?
And then
I said, well, my mind said we could go through a lot of red tape, or we could do what I said. I said, launch them.
Just go after it.
Go get the folks. Between our neighbors helping neighbors in between the great work that Judge Emmett and Commissioner Cagle did, as well as Constable Herman. We took care of our folks, independent of any other organizations.
Did you notice big groups like the Red Cross or Salvation Army? Did several big organizations with tons of money show up, but they don't know really how, and I'm not asking you to throw stones,
right?
But did you see a little disorganization? The bigger the organization, the less focused, less disorganized they were.
Well, Terry, the only evidence I saw of any of them were Red Cross cots at the Metropolitan Baptist Church. Other than that, they were MIA in terms of, they may have been there, but I did not see them in terms of providing the real recovery services in my district.
Again, we don't want to throw stones,
right.
And this isn't the time to discuss do you give or not give to this or that group. Have you seen within your district, Northwest Harris County, are there some huge projects that really need attention, but no group is tackling them because they're too large?
Here's the way I see, Terry, events like this. The first phase, which we've made it through, is recovery. The second phase is rebuilding the communities and lives, the restoration, which we're in now. That's the debris removal. That's getting homes and businesses back up. And then the third is the future mitigation and flood planning. I will tell you that where we are, phase 2 and 3, there's not one governmental body that can do it alone. Our counties and cities are the boots on the ground, but we need coordination between the county, between the state, and between the federal government to be able to move forward and to tackle these issues, specifically when we move into the mitigation. We can't assume this isn't going to happen again. We had Harvey. We had Tax Day flood. We had Memorial Day. We have to come together as one entity working together because we have issues such as homes that need to be bought out. You know, you look at Bear Creek. Someone referred to it as a retention center that just happened to have homes. We need to clean Side Creek. We need to clean it of debris. I mean, the sink is clogged, so to speak. We need to look at our infrastructure. There's many things that we need to do. We need to look at additional reservoir, but it's going to require the coordination of all three governmental bodies coming together to develop a short-term plan to resolve these issues.
So when you say three, fed, state, and local.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, before we get to the last question of after this interview, we're scheduled to have a vice president with the Heritage Foundation to discuss their desire to meet with President Trump and encourage President Trump to form a super commission, a disaster relief commission with a czar that has the responsibility to look at Puerto Rico, Florida, Texas, and under that one person directing a small commission, that's the top of the umbrella, and all aid groups, federal, FEMA, loan program, SBA, underneath it. Before we get to that, let me ask this. 40% of small businesses that suffer major disaster, 40% never reopen.
Exactly.
And the majority who do reopen close within a couple of years. That's just national statistics.
Yep.
Do you see small business owners that are the backbone of our community? Yeah, we've got school districts that employ thousands and maybe, Dell or whatever. But small businesses drive the economy by hiring 4, 5, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 people. Do you see a depression setting in amongst small business owners that have come to you saying, we need help or I need help, but they're not getting it?
Well, Terry, I am a small business guy and a huge small business advocate. I'm seeing a lot of resiliency, but the problem is this. As you alluded to, they are a huge part of our community, but the problem is many that I've spoken to are still trying to pay off the disaster recovery loans from the Small Business Administration from the prior flood. So as they get back on their feet, their legs are knocked out from under them again. It is having tremendous impact, and we have to help our businesses and our small businesses. And I'm seeing the chamber come forth. I mean, the community is here, but I think it's yet to be determined if all of them will be able to bounce back.
They need help. A homeowner needs help, a renter needs help, a landlord needs help, and the small business owner needs help. Kevin Roberts is our guest. He represents District 126 up in the Texas House. His district covers about 99% of it are residents, people, voters that live in the unincorporated part of Harris County. Now, Kevin, in wrapping up real quick, 1 minute or less, after this interview, I'm going to have this VP with the Heritage Foundation discussing whether or not President Trump should appoint a czar and a commission, a disaster relief commission, to coordinate all the efforts amongst all the federal organizations that funnel down to the local areas in Puerto Rico, in Florida, and in Texas. Should the feds have a czar?
First of all, I can't really speak to the intricacies of the federal funding, but here's what I can tell you. From my perspective, as someone who's on the ground in my community every day and see the tremendous amount of destruction and damage that Harvey has caused, I think that anything that can be done to expedite relief to Texans and to others impacted by Harvey and Irma should be encouraged. I mean, to this point, the federal government has been a great partner with the state. The state's been a great partner working with the counties, but we need to get dollars to our neighbors who are hurting, and time is of the essence. I know that the Commission to Rebuild Texas, which is an effort created by Governor Abbott and managed by A&M Chancellor John Sharp, has been working to bring literally thousands of state and local employees together and streamline these efforts. And I think our federal partners are also a critical piece to this puzzle.
As long as the decisions can be made quickly to help local people, it should be done. And if it's going to hinder that, then I'm going to say the federal government needs to just funnel dollars, but let's don't have a czar sitting in Washington, D.C. that doesn't know Cypress Creek or Buffalo Bayou. Paul Betancourt said Buffalo Bayou at one time was a mile across. Can you imagine? A mile across. Meyerland is just devastated. Kevin Roberts, thanks for being with us.
It's great to be here, Terry. Thank you.